my name is Sarah, and today we're talking about my first 5 reads of 2016. So, in 2016, we are changing the way that I do wrap-ups. Historically, like most booktubers, I have done a monthly wrap-up where I've discussed the X number of books that I read in the month of January, February, March, April, etc. But I found as I got to the end of the year that I was reading a lot of books. I was reading 12, 13, 14 books in any given month, which meant that wrap-ups were super long, and I wasn't really able to discuss books as in-depth as I might have wanted to, especially if I wasn't doing a full review on a book. And so, a couple of weeks ago, I saw 2 different booktubers, Max from Well Done Books and Mari from My Name is Ness, who both put up this new kind of wrap-up on the same day, and I was like, yes, this is the change that I need for my wrap-ups in 2016. So every few weeks or so, I will be wrapping up the 5 most recent books that I have read. Without further ado, let's get into the first 5 books of 2015. Book number 1, Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. So this is an adult literary speculative fiction slash dystopian kind of novel that primarily centers around a flu pandemic that wipes out 99% of the world's population. It is written from multiple points of view and in an unlinear style, so we not only hop around from character to character, but we also hop around from time to time. This was an absolutely beautiful story. The themes were wonderful, the writing was wonderful, the character development was fantastic. I loved everything about it from start to finish. I totally understand why this was on so many people's favorites of 2015 list, because it is an absolutely fantastic story that is so well written. And even though it is 12 months from now and I have a ton of other books to read before this year is done, I can almost guarantee this one is going to be on my favorites list. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I've already done a full spoiler-free review that I will link in the description below if you want to hear more thoughts. Book number 2, Make It Happen by Lara. This is the first nonfiction book that I read this year, and it is sort of a combination memoir slash motivational self-help type book. This book is divided into a few different parts. The first 3 parts are basically Lara's story of how she got to where she is today, and then the 4th part is sort of a self-help motivational, like, alright, now what are you gonna go and make happen in your own life type section. I really enjoyed the narrative parts of this book and learning more about Lara's story and how she got to where she is today and the different struggles that she experienced and went through and the lessons she learned as a result of that. The biggest issue I had with this book is that I didn't know going into it that it's not just a read it and read it kind of book. It's a interactive book, if you want to call it that. Lara asks questions throughout each chapter that she actually wants you to write down answers to, either in the book or in your own journal or something like that. And then the entire last section is a sort of workbook type thing where she has you go through like all these different big questions about what you want for your life and what you want to make happen and where you want to be when you're 80 and stuff like that. And if I'd known going into it that that's what this book was, I probably would have enjoyed it more, but I went into it expecting to just read a book and to experience Lara's story and learn more about how she got to where she is and what she's learned along the way and things like that. And so I did not particularly enjoy that aspect of the book, and I felt like it broke up the narrative in a way that sort of kept pulling me out of it. In the end, I wound up giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Book number 3, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. It has been quite a long time since I read this book, 5, 6, possibly even more years, and I don't know how I let that happen because this book is so fantastic. Jane Austen's prose is witty and hilarious. I love all of the characters from Elizabeth Bennet to Jane Bennet to Mr. Bennet to William Darcy and Mr. Bingley and even Mr. Collins and George Wickham. I just love how all of the different characters represent so many different facets of people that we experience in our everyday lives. I love the lessons about first impressions and snap judgments and how those can affect the relationships that we have, and this book is just, it's delightful in every possible way. It is complete perfection. I don't think there's anything about this book that I could ever want to change. I just love it so, so much. And just some of Jane Austen's commentary about the way Darcy processes information and the way the different characters process information and their thoughts on things, it's just so funny. Like, I know people don't think of Pride and Prejudice or Jane Austen's books as being funny, but she's freaking hilarious. Like, I adore everything about this book, and I don't know how I let myself go so long between rereads, because really that's just a travesty, because this is seriously probably my favorite book of all time because it's just amazing. Book number 4, The Reality Bug by DJ MacHale. So this is the 4th book in the Pendragon series, which is a 10-book young adult fantasy series about a kid named Bobby Pendragon. One day Bobby's Uncle Press shows up at his door and informs him that he's a traveler, which means he can travel between different territories, and there's an evil dude named Saint Dane running around trying to topple the entire universe. In this 4th book, Bobby travels to the territory of Velox. Upon his arrival, Bobby discovers that the vast majority of the population of Velox spends most of their time in a virtual reality program called Lifelike that creates a perfect reality for you. The purpose of Lifelight was originally just to give people a little bit of an escape from a reality, but has turned into the thing that people want to spend all of their time in rather than just some of their time in, because they prefer to experience a perfect reality than deal with the hardships of living an actual life. It has a plan to get everyone out of Lifelight by introducing something she calls the reality bug, which will tweak all of their experiences just a little bit so that they're not quite as perfect, and she hopes that this will encourage them to not spend so much time in Lifelight and actually return to real life. And of course, St. Dane does crazy things, stuff doesn't go quite as they plan, and Bobby and Aja have to work as fast as they can to save Velox from ruin. So I definitely enjoyed this fourth book more than I enjoyed the previous three. By the end of the third book, everything was just feeling very wash, rinse, repeat, but in this fourth book, things started to get changed up a little bit. The plot got a lot more interesting, there are a lot more twists and turns and unexpected things that happen in this book, and as a reader, I was kept on my toes a whole lot more in the reality bug than I had been in any of the previous books, and there were a lot of moments where I really wasn't totally sure if everything was going to turn out and they were actually going to save the territory from St. Dane's evil plot. I'm also enjoying how we're seeing Bobby's character continue to develop in this fourth book. He's finally starting to accept his role as a traveler and in fact learns that he is a lead traveler, and so he spends part of this book sort of going, why does everyone else seem to know that I'm the lead traveler, but I didn't know that I'm the lead traveler, and all this stuff. But you can see as you're nearing the end of the story that he's starting to process that and is going to start to come more to grips with that and accept that and step into that role in the books as we progress through the story. We brought back one of my favorite characters in this book, Lara, who we met in the very first book. I love her. She's total BA, fantastic warrior kind of person, and so I was really excited to see her come back into this book. One of the other elements that I really enjoyed about this story is that for the most part in the first three books, Courtney and Mark have just been receiving the journals and reading them and not doing a whole lot else beyond that, but in this fourth book they start to get their own story, and I'm really excited to see how their characters are going to continue to grow and develop as they step into their own roles in this whole big mess of the universe. I wound up giving this book 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I will definitely be continuing on with the series, and when I finish it I will be doing a full series review. And book number 5, The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. This is the first book in the Chaos Walking trilogy, which is a young adult sci-fi series that follows a kid named Todd Hewitt, who is the last boy in Prenticetown. Todd has spent his entire life believing that Prenticetown is the only town left in this entire world, and that years ago the settlers of the New World got into a war with the native aliens of the planet, the Spackle. The Spackle released a germ called the Noise that made it possible for everyone to hear the thoughts of all the men and killed all of the women. Todd learns that pretty much everything he's been taught his entire life about who he is and the history of his town is like completely wrong. He then goes on the run, not entirely sure what he's running from or why he's running from it. I definitely enjoyed a lot of elements of this book. Patrick Ness's writing style did take a little bit for me to get into. I do, however, really love the friendship that develops between Todd and Viola. I love how they go from completely mistrusting and not knowing what to do with each other to recognizing that they are pretty much the only other person that they have in the world, and they really need to stick together and work together, and their friendship is wonderful, and I'm really, really excited to see how it continues to grow and develop as we progress through the rest of the series. I love the character of Manchi, which is Todd's dog, and it is entirely possible that Manchi has topped Enzo from The Art of Racing in the Rain as my favorite fictional animal, which if you watch any of my videos where I talked about Enzo in The Art of Racing in the Rain last year, you know that that's like a pretty high standard because Enzo's a pretty fantastic character, but I loved Manchi. He's just a fantastic character, and I really appreciated what he added to the story. Like I said, the writing style did take me a little bit to get used to, but I did wind up really enjoying it. However, there were some elements of the story that were hard for me to deal with. One is our main villain. He basically has like 9 lives. Like, the dude should have died like super early in the book, but he does not, and I had a really hard time suspending my disbelief that this guy could survive all the things that he survives throughout the book, other than for the necessity of plot device. On the whole, I definitely enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I will be continuing on with the series. Well, there you have it, friends. Those are my first 5 reads of 2016. If you have read any of the books, I would love to hear your thoughts, so please let me know in the comments, and I would also love to hear what your first read of the year was. If you want to follow me also online, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads, all at Sarah Ann Hayes. The links for those profiles will be in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye! My name is Sarah, and today we're talking about weeks and months following the, which if you're not familiar with it is a in this 4th book, but of course, same time to see how their characters are getting, and I'm really excited to see how their characters are getting